All right, folks, if you're considering buying a cheap power cage such as this Go Plus one I have in front of me, some things you might want to consider, right? Let's talk about just dimensions in general. Now, this one stands about 7 foot tall. You know, some of you, if you're using this in your basement, your ceiling might not even be 7 foot tall, so make sure that you measure your basement height. If you plan to do pull-ups in your ceiling 7 foot tall and you buy a 7 foot power cage, you're not going to be able to do pull-ups most likely, right? So you may have to settle for a 6 foot tall one. The ceiling in here is about 8 foot tall, so not really a problem for this. Now, overall depth of these, you know, some of them are deeper. That may be more beneficial for those of you squatting, and or if you have a bunch of benches. Okay, we'll talk about that in a moment. But the deeper these are, a lot of times the better it might be for your weight benches. And like I said, we'll talk about issues you'll see with that in a moment. Materials. Some of these are 2x2, such as this one, 2x3, 3x3. Usually the bigger that number is, the more sturdy they're going to be, the more load they will hold up. There's also a thickness associated to that steel tubing. This is rather thin. I think most of the time you'll see 11 gauge. And offhand, I cannot remember exactly what that equates to. It's somewhere around 0.12 inches of thickness, all right? So hole patterns, you may find also 1 inch diameter hole openings here for the accessories. That is important when you're going to buy accessories, that you know exactly what's gonna fit in there. And not all the accessories will be compatible. Just because these all say 2x2 with a 1 inch hole diameter doesn't mean they will fit every single piece of power rack that's 2x2. So also, when these power cages say, you know, 1,000 pound capacity, that doesn't necessarily mean that I can put 1,000 pounds on these pins, right? This guy has its own capacity that it can handle. These guys have their own capacity. This safety bar across here has its own capacity, and additionally this other pin will have its own capacity. So make sure that you have a better idea what those are. Now, that said, usually these have some kind of safety factor in them, which, you know, the manufacturer is going to keep to themselves. So you really don't know offhand how much more weight this can handle than what they've told you. Now, if you're going to load up the front like I've done here, let's say you're going to go really heavy with squats, having a little stabilizing leg, I'll call it, sticking out like that is not going to stop this from possibly toppling over forward, okay? I have all this additional weight on the back, which definitely will offset that. So something to consider. A lot of times the longer this is coming off of that, the better it's going to be to counter heavy weight that you might have on here. Now, of course, folks, don't expect to get the same kind of vibe that you might feel from, you know, the hammer strength power cage that you might see at the gym. These things are gonna rattle, they're gonna shake, they're not gonna be as stiff, all right? Definitely when you're looking at the 2x2. And like they always say, folks, you get what you pay for, right? So if you're gonna buy a cheap one, expect there to be limitations, expect there to be quality issues. The more you spend, hopefully you're gonna get a better quality power rack. So one thing to consider, you see this one has this rear stabilizing support right here. That thing can be a problem when you want to push a bench back, like so. This one will make contact with it. Sometimes I have to put the bench on the other side of that piece of tubing down there. Sometimes, like this one, I have no choice but to use it on the outside which, you know, for military, not a big deal. When I'm doing incline like I was doing here, had 315 on here the other day, did not feel super comfortable putting that on there. So it would have been smarter for me to set up in the back, or not in the back, but inside of the actual power cage. Now, through my years of using this, things I have seen dropping heavy weight down on this, I've actually seen these pop up and drop out like that. I kid you not. So what do I do to counter that? I actually use these clamps, and that has completely stopped that from happening. Now, I did note accessories, so I went and bought this additional safety support here so that I could work outside of the cage. It's actually, you know, could be used for a lot of things. Like I could be doing shoulder shrugs, have the weight on this pin and have this underneath it. And in case the weight slipped out, you know, just drop it on the bar. A lot of times I'll use this setup for military, where I'm pressing the weight off of this pin and having this to be my safety. Why can I not do that inside the power cage? Well, just as I showed you, the utility bench, the back of the bench hits that bar. So I have no choice but to work in this front side of the bench. Now, though it's set up for incline bench, I could have used the incline on the inside, pop that up and over the bar, and been in a much safer environment. However, maybe I've gotten lazy, but we like to use this setup right here the way it is for flat bench. Now, another accessory we have is the weight holder right there. Try not to put too much weight on there because, yeah, if the capacity of this whole rig is 1,000 pounds, I don't want to put a ton of 45s on there because I do have quite a bit of weight that we could add to that. And you can see the way I've just kind of left this, I've already got, you know, weight on there. So, and it would probably be difficult to have more than one weight tree per side. To have one in the front, that might, you know, might get in the way. Having an additional weight tree like this one is probably not such a bad thing. Now, of course, you'll find with one of these power cages, like I said, I have this bench. This one's sitting on its upright, but another flat bench. I've got this Cybex flat bench here. Showed you the Titan utility, and not that I would really work out too much with this, but this bench also declines. So just talking upper body with the power cage, you can obviously see that one could do decline bench in here. We can do flat, we can do incline, we can do variations of military press, shoulder press. You can do shrugs in here. You can do upright rows, you can do rows. This one allows you to do pull-up. And then the one thing I barely ever use this for would be the legs. And obviously you can do some squatting in there with those. Now you'll see sometimes in my video, I will use this for standing military press. So I'll move these pins up to shoulder height, and then I will use that to press off of. Now, one thing that's an issue in here is the ceiling height. So I can't use the 45s, hence why you see all these 10s, right? So I'll work upwards of 185, 205, but they'll all be 10-pound plates on there. Now, when I do that, though, I don't use these supports. I'm more likely to just, you know, bring the weight down and then pop it back on the pins. But yeah, folks, where I have continually thought, hey, I would not mind getting a better power cage, and I thought about putting a second one in right there. I just never did it. And you know, for the most part, I think this thing's gonna last, right? As my bench press goes up, I consider also, hey, maybe I need a sturdier power cage. Maybe we'll make this work. I've also thought about buying more dedicated commercial pieces of equipment, such as this decline bench. At least, you know, one thing I would like to do is probably buy the incline bench. I kind of like the setup that I have for doing bench press in here. It might be nicer, once again, to have a commercial flat bench, but it's working out quite well. Now, one other thing to consider that we didn't talk about, if you are going to use this, how far to set these off from the wall. So the bar, you know, 7-foot bar, give or take. I'm finding that the 18 to 24 inches that I left here, I should have probably gone another foot. It can be difficult with somebody my size to actually pick up the 45 and get it in here, just because your back's up against this wall half the time and you're lifting, and so I got to come in from the side. So I would say probably 3 foot from here to the wall would be good. And then you obviously, I don't think, want to be up against the wall back here unless you are tying your power cage into the wall to provide additional support. And of course, other things one could do, I've tried to add some cheap acrylic mirrors here so that I can see myself working out, and so that was nice. You know, for flooring, you don't really, I think, want to have these just sitting on concrete. Maybe you want to have some of these guys, or this rather thick carpet that the wife no longer cares about, so it's down here. You know, one exercise I didn't discuss though was you can do obviously straight bar arm curls off of this as well. But yeah, folks, so that's been my experience of having this power cage for at least 3 years now. I also go to Planet Fitness. I also go to a really good gym, and so we have seen all kinds of different equipment, and you know, this has worked out for me. I could go to the good gym and use their bench press, but I continue to do it here at home. Part of that's to make videos. The other part is, you know, just the fact that I have actual safeties here, and I feel that works out pretty good rather than have to ask for a spot. Thanks for checking out the video, folks. Please like, please subscribe. Thank you.